All right, we are live again. Hopefully you can hear me. This is Bowling Over 50 live edition. This is where I kind of get a chance to talk and chat and do some things with you guys. I do this just so you know I'm a real person and I'm alive and kicking. So I've got the chat up. I should be able to see it. I hope. Got a few things to talk about today. So, while we're waiting on people to join in but if you're out there and you have a question, comment, please feel free to do that. We're going to talk about some videos that came out since our last live. We're going to talk about my, interesting last 4 or 5 days, I guess, on the lanes and, talk about, what it's like to be a 50-year-old man trying to bowl against the kids and just making all kinds of mistakes. So we'll just get right into that. So something I haven't done in a while is I haven't bowled in a PBA event in maybe 2 years or so, maybe a little less than 2 years. I haven't bowled any PBA 50 events in a little longer than that. I think I might have bowled a couple of regionals just to have a little fun. Bowling against what I call the kids, fairly difficult to do. And we had a PBA event this last weekend that I could attend, and so I went ahead and did that. Went to the practice session, and one of the things you'll find if you ever get a chance to bowl in a PBA regional is you go to practice, and it's usually on Friday evening, Friday afternoon, and you try to get lined up. You try to find out which balls, bowling balls you're going to use. You try to get a game plan on what you're going to do. The challenge is the practice session never bowls like the real event. People are throwing equipment in the practice session that they won't be throwing, during the tournament. And they usually start with a lot of surface and they kind of chew up the lanes and they kind of move all over. So the lanes really never play the same in practice as they do in the actual tournament. But you can kind of get an idea of which balls you like, which ball you want to start with, and kind of get a game plan with what you're going to do. This event, I felt pretty good about the pattern. They originally it was 43 feet. It was going to be about 3.5, 4 to 1, and which is a pretty high ratio for most PBA events. And the gutter was in play. Well, maybe a few boards off the gutter, 5, 6, something like that was in play. And I felt really good going in, had a decent game plan. But I knew that they were going to play different. And so we get into the event, Saturday afternoon. I was bowling on the B squad, and we get into it Saturday afternoon. Hi! Got somebody from Quebec City on the live stream. Anyway, get into the real event, and I did the worst thing possible. Struck every single time. And it didn't matter what ball I was throwing, I threw strikes. And so, this false sense of security starts to creep in, and you go, I'm going to whack this. And I really thought I was going to anyway. It set up really well for me and the way I like to see the lanes and the way I like to play the lanes, and was super excited about bowling the event. But when the lights came on and I was having to throw shots, and we're going to do a video about this at some point in time, started getting really excited and a little amped up, and I was throwing it too hard. And so that caused me to move right off of what I was doing in the warm-up, in the 10 minutes of warm-up. And I kept getting closer and closer and closer to the gutter. And that was not the play at all. I even saw some guys playing there. So it kind of gave me this false sense of security that that's the direction I was needing to go. And I did that through one or two different balls for the first 3 games and just started off atrocious. Don't even remember what my games were, but they were really, really bad. Well, I can tell you what they were. I'll look at something that nobody's paying me to use, so I'm not going to tell you what program I use. But I started off 132, 145, 168. At that point, I knew I was just dead in the water through 2 or 3 different balls from that location, way outside, playing 5-4 off the gutter, pretty much straight up the gutter because I don't hook it a ton, don't have a lot of rev rate. That's kind of why we do this channel, is because a lot of people that are learning to bowl and that are over 50 don't have a ton of rev rate. And so at that point, I went back to where I was when I started practice and did much better. I went 223 the next game. Shot 181 my 5th game with an open in the 10th. Really kind of an unlucky break. I stone 8 with a 10 pin. I can understand one or the other standing up, and I understand why the 8 pin stood up, but I don't really understand why the 10 pin stood up. So I end up opening in the 10th for a 181. Pretty dejected because I was on my way to another 200 game, to try to get, kind of back on track. And then I go, 205 the next for game 6, and then game 7 happened. And if you've been a part of the PBA or gone to any of the events, the way they get you on pairs can be different from time to time. You can jump 1, jump 2, jump 3, jump 1. This time we went move 1 pair, and then we skip a pair and moved. And then we skipped 2 pair and moved. And then we skipped 3 pair and moved. And we skipped 4 pair and moved. So the last game I was back in the middle of the house and I could not keep the ball from hooking at the arrows or just beyond the arrows. The ball just wanted to take off on me. And so I threw 3 or 4 frames and realized that I was in deep, deep trouble. And we'll do a video about this as well. I mean, not a lot of you guys bowl on sports shots. Most of you guys are bowling on house shots, things that are a little easier. But as an over 50 guy and somebody with not a lot of rev rate, the worst thing you can do is think you're close and just start nibbling at it. In PBA events, the PBA guys are going to start as far right as possible. We've had a video about that and how we want to start as far right as possible. But then it's a race to the left gutter, and whoever can get to the left gutter the fastest is going to win the tournament. Me with not a lot of rev rate, I can't make those big jumps, zone changes. So I try to nibble at something that's close. And when you do that, you're going to leave some stuff, some washouts. You're going to go through the face. I've got to get better at making those gigantic zone changes, quickly. And in game 7, I didn't make any zone changes. I just tried to nibble at it and kept moving left. And it wasn't enough. And so by frame 5, I realized that wasn't going to be the answer. So the next thing for me to try, was to try to get it over that spot. So I went airborne. And when I went airborne, the back ends began to hook. Before I, first 5 frames, the ball was burning up in the front and wasn't hooking at the back. Once I was throwing it, trying to get it to the arrows. And once I started doing that, now the back ends hook. And I had already switched to a really cleaner ball. I'd switched to the Black Widow Tour V1 by that point, which goes really far down the lane for me. And then it's really snappy at the back. It wasn't getting through the heads. It was hooking and then just kind of puking out at the back. And so once I went airborne with that ball, it really wanted to hook. And I went Brooklyn a couple of times, but I don't think I struck. And so the last game was absolutely atrocious. I shoot 153 the last game. Kind of embarrassing. Did not have a great showing. As I have said on the live stream, I think I said it last week, my goal when bowling with the kids is just not to get last. And I didn't get last. I had a kind of another goal that there's a few PBA 50 guys in my region, and only beat a couple of them. I like being high senior out of the cut. I was not that this time. Matter of fact, there's a couple other senior bowlers here in this area that beat me. I wasn't happy about that. Kind of embarrassing. Now, the cool thing was, and I hope he's listening out there, or we'll see this eventually, is we're going to do, I talked to D.O. Bernard, and he likes the channel. He's a fan of the channel. He's a fan of what I'm doing, although he's a two-handed left-hander that certainly doesn't need my help. But he is, when people ask him about bowling, he is sending people our direction. And I'm hoping that within the next few months, we're going to get Dio on a live, and we're going to get to ask him some questions. I met Dio when he was 15 years old, when he was bowling on Junior Team USA. And I was at the ITRC in Arlington for some coaching stuff. And we were staying in the same hotel with Team USA because I was going to be involved in doing some coaching things there at the ITRC with some gold level coaches. And I met Dio in the lobby. I know his father, Richard. He is a very good bowler, bowls on the PBA 50. Really good bowler. Has bowled really well this year, and he kind of struggled this weekend. He was here this weekend as well. He was kind of struggling, not as bad as I was. He was playing the lanes the way I should have been playing the lanes, and he did much better. But I got to see both of them, so hopefully in the next couple of months, if I can get Dio to send me an email, email Dio. We will get him on. He is a left-hander, two-handed left-hander. Very interesting guy. Can do a lot of different things with the bowling ball. The left at this PBA event was no good for any of them, I don't think. There might have been a one-handed left-hander that I was bowling with Alan Smith, who has a regional title, and ended up on his live feed. If you want to watch some really bad bowling, find Alan Smith's Instagram or TikTok. I'm not real sure what he went live on. And you can watch me throw some really bad shots. I did not get prior approval from Bowl TV to actually tape that, so I did not do any of that, but it's good I didn't, actually. So hopefully we'll have Dio on. That'll be fun. Get to ask him some questions. Anyway, he bowled the first 3 games, and it did not go well. The left was terrible, so he started throwing a backup ball from the right and goes 245 without any warm-up or anything like that. Just moved way right and threw a backup ball and shoots 245, and that got him on the right track, and he did much better after that. I think later in the day, the left started to look a little bit better from some of the left-handers that had stayed there. Well, most of them stayed there. I think Dio was the only one that went backup ball. And so I thought it probably looked better late in the day than it did early. So we got a question from I'm not even going to say these. Armo, we're going to go with that. Coach, we always hear taught to stay behind the ball. My question is, if you stay behind the ball, would the ball roll end over end, aka rolling a straight ball? Yes and no. Okay, so for me, who doesn't have a high rev rate, throwing the ball with zero axis tilt or axis rotation, the ball will go pretty straight. There's a lot of guys out there with maybe double the rev rate that I have that the ball will actually turn over and actually hook, and it'll tip enough for it to hook. But you're going to need rev rate in the 350 to 400 range. I'm nowhere close to that. So if I go with zero axis rotation, my ball's going to go pretty straight. I do, however, and we'll kind of get into this in a moment, I do try to throw a ball that I consider up the back or end over end, which is really not that. I'm trying to get to a 10 or 15 degrees of axis rotation. And when I do that, the ball is a gentle hook into the pocket. Let's get into it. We'll finish the PBA and then I'll get into that and finish how I played that. So, anyway, PBA event ended. It was a good event. A friend of mine got fourth. Austin Bowles, ended up winning that event. He bowled spectacularly. I watched him a lot, cause he was bowling somewhere near me. And so, anyway, it, sounds like urethane territory. That's an Eddie since that. I tried urethane in practice. Again, I said practice always plays different than the actual event. I did look at urethane and a lot of 10 pins. I just couldn't get it to turn the corner, and if I tried to change the axis rotation, urethane did not look good. So, kind of moving on, Monday we had a sport shot little tournament, here in Lubbock. We have one every Monday and Tuesday night. Monday night is at one center, Tuesday is at another center. And, so Monday night we were bowling on a 38-foot pattern. It had a lot of volume on it. It was fairly flat. 2.5 to 1? Fairly flat, little bit of volume. Which was a urethane. Typically, if the pattern length starts with a 3, I'm always going to give urethane a look. I don't give urethane a look if it starts with a 4. Typically. On Monday night, it was 38 feet, 2.5 to 1, fairly decent amount of volume. And so it was a urethane night for me, and I bowled okay. I start the night off with, a fairly decent, well, everybody was having trouble. I go 188 the first game, and I'm in second place even with handicap. It was a little challenging. I go 236 the next game, which jumps me up to second. Then I finish up with a 179, 191, which is enough for fourth place. I won all my brackets. I got in 4 brackets, won all my brackets, but it was urethane. So the pattern on the PBA event, it started with a 4. It was 43 feet. If the right would have hooked a little bit more off the gutter, Maybe urethane would have been a good play. I saw some people try to throw it. I saw a lot of concepts go down the lane. And they got out of them pretty quickly, because it just was, I'm not real sure why the urethane didn't look okay, especially for some of the high rev rate bowlers. There was a couple of guys throwing concepts that were able to stay in it for a long time, but concepts then kind of destroy the lane because they absorb so much oil. And so they kind of destroy the lanes for everybody, and you kind of got to be inside that somehow and try not to cross it because the concept takes up so much oil off the lane. I know Austin Bowles did throw a game, maybe a game and a half with a concept, and he made it look okay, but then he got out of it fairly quickly. But Monday night was a urethane fest, and when it comes to urethane, I'm pretty good at it. I really am. Even when the lanes were tricky, and they were pretty tricky Monday night. And that kind of gets into, well, we'll come back to Tuesday night. I've got a question from Slow147. Why is my ball speed always the same regardless of 14 or 15 or 16 pounds? I'm going to try to be nice about this. Unless you've got a really new system in your center that has a pretty good ball detection on speed, the balls don't really, on your screen is not going to be all that different. They're definitely not accurate because ball speed at the PBA events, when you see them on the screen and they're throwing at 18, 19 miles an hour, they are not judging speed at the same place that the ones in your center are judging. Your center is judging the ball speed closer to the pins. The ones on the PBA and things that you see that where they have ball speed 18, 19, that ball speed is early when it comes off your hand. So down lane, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference. Now, I'm not surprised that your 16-pound ball is traveling the same speed as your 14-pound ball. Not surprised at that a bit, because if you're throwing the ball the right way and you're using gravity to generate power with your arm, the ball speed can increase with a 16-pound ball because you're letting gravity do the work. But we've got a video that's coming out, in maybe 2 or 3 weeks about ball speed. And ball speed is generated by your legs. So if your pace with your legs is the same with your 14, 15, and 16, it doesn't surprise me that your ball speed will be the same because your leg speed, your foot speed is about the same. With a 14-pound ball, if you're letting gravity do the work, when it comes off your hand, it definitely has less power because gravity has not as much effect on a 14-pound ball as it does a 16-pound ball. Not in a pendulum type action. So I'm not surprised. Now the 15, should be similar, but if you're within 1 mile an hour on your screen, that doesn't surprise me for a bunch of factors. Gravity, your swing, your foot speed, and the fact that most balls going down the lane are going to hit the same speed down lane. Now, if you were throwing it earlier and getting that speed earlier instead of later, I think you would see a difference in the speed of the bowling ball. I'm not one of these guys. Now, my main center I bowl in does not have the ball speed on there. When I was looking at the center that we were bowling in on Saturday in the PBA event, they have a fairly new system. And I was throwing the ball anywhere from 13.9 to 14.3. I think 14.5. I think my average was 14.3. And I know for a fact I throw the ball harder than that. I even try to amp a couple up to try to get through the heads, and it was 14.7, 14.9, something like that. And I know I was throwing it harder than that. I know it was pretty close to 19 or 20 coming off my hand, and it's still registering only in the 14s down lane. So even newer systems don't accurately measure speed of the bowling ball because it is down lane. The ball's going to slow down, and it has to slow down or it won't ever hook. So, unless your rev rate is 500. Would you recommend, the next question, would you recommend finding your drift, aka boards you drift, affected your spare positions? Okay. Here's my theory on drift, on spares. Again, I don't drift much. With a strike ball, I mean, I don't drift at all. Where I start is where I finish. I put my left foot on a certain board, and when I finish and look down, I'm on that same board when I finish my strike shot. When I'm throwing at a 10 pin and I'm right-handed and I move way left to throw cross lane at the 10 pin, I try not to drift any. If I do drift, I'm walking towards my spot, and it may be a board. 10 pins can be a little tricky, so I don't want a whole lot of drift when I'm doing my 10 pins. Now, for 7 pins, that's a little different for me. I make a point to try to walk towards my spot. So I start a little further right than where I would normally just want to release it, and I tend to walk towards my spot. And the reason I do that is easier for me. Okay. When I throw a strike shot, most of my strike shots are going from the middle part of the lane out to, the gutter, somewhere close. So I'm used to throwing the ball to the right side of me. So when I'm throwing at a 10 pin, that's on the right side of me, and so it's more of a natural swing for me. But 7 pins, which I throw straight at, I watch a ton of amateurs, league bowlers, they always hook at 7 pins, and so they're throwing more of a strike shot at a 7 pin. They're just moving a little further to the right and hooking it across to get the 7 pin. I don't do that. I throw straight at as many spares as I possibly can, unless there is a sleeper or double wood. So with a 7 pin, now I have to throw across my body from right to left, and I want my shoulders to be pointed towards my target the whole time. So I tend to walk towards my target, and I allow for that. So I've got a little bit of drift left on my 7 pins. But other than that, I am trying to not have any drift at all. If you have some drift and you're not interested in fixing that, which I don't blame you. If it's something you do naturally, just make sure you're finding out how far you drift, on your spares. So, that way you're consistent. As long as you're consistent with your drift, there's nothing wrong with the drift. I mean, I say this in the video about drifting. Belmonte drifts 11 to 15 boards left, but he does it consistently. He does that to get his hips going the right direction. He doesn't want to open his hips up until the very last moment. Keeps those hips square as long as possible. And when you're two-handed, you really need to be moving towards the left two-handed to keep your hips in the right position, because it's real easy to get those hips wide open when you're throwing a shot, when you're two-handed. because your whole body, your whole shoulders are turning to actually get power. So if you have that drift, just make sure you go and do some practice and mark it and make sure you're consistent with your left hand and your right hand spares. There's nothing wrong with drifting. Again, left-handed left side spares, I'm going to drift. And so just make sure you know what that drift is and it's consistent. If I do notice this with bowlers that have drift that don't practice enough, the challenge is the further left they go, the more they drift to the right. And I know on your screen that's completely backwards for whatever reason. This thing reverses everything. And the further right they are, the more they drift left. They want to walk towards their target. So just use that video to try to make sure your drift is consistent, whichever direction you're going to go. So if you're going to drift 2 boards left, make sure it's 2 boards every single time. If you're going to drift to the right, which I don't ever recommend, a left drift is much better than a right drift. If you're right-handed, reverse that for left-handers. Just make sure you're consistent, especially on your spares. If you can eliminate your drift, I think you'll be more consistent. I'm baffled. I'm bowling on a house shot that is really dry. Okay. Well, a lot of house shots are. Where is it dry? Is it dry to the right? Is it dry in the middle? Is it just overall dry? I've moved far left, moved my target also left, and it's still hooking way too much. I'm using lower end balls, raw, solid, and rhino pearl. That's a really good question. It's it's a predicament for sure. First of all, and make sure that the raw, go ahead and try to get yourself a raw pearl instead of a solid. The rhino pearl probably will react very similar to the raw pearl. Make sure it's a small core, weak cover. It looks like you're doing the best thing you can. Overall dry. Well, if this was me and I was dealing with this, there's a couple of ways you can deal with it. One is that if it's hooking too early, then you would take your pearl and try to go airborne with it. Try to get it over the heads. And try to get it out and hook it back, or if you've got a little oil and maybe a little hole in the middle, you can maybe get it over those heads and just kind of float the head pin, kind of aiming somewhere between the 3-pin and the 6-pin, and use your speed to let that thing turn the corner and get into the pocket that way. If you've got just any kind of oil in the middle, problem is, if that's the case, a lot of people are trying to do that. So you're going to end up having to loft the ball a little bit to try to get the ball to hook a little bit later, get it down the lane, and go in. And man, if you're having to do that on a brand new, just put out house shot, I don't know where you're bowling, but I mean, I hate to say this, I really do, but maybe you should look at bowling in a different house. I mean, any kind of house shot at all is going to have 24, 25 milliliters of oil and give you guys at least a chance somewhere on the lane. And I would think it would be in the middle, but, I mean, that, if that's the case, maybe look at finding some other place to bowl, because a drier house shot is not going to make scores go up. And bowling centers really are wanting you to score. So you'll come back. And if they're not willing to at least give you something to play on, then maybe look into bowling at a different house. I hate saying that, by the way. Absolutely hate saying that. I've never experienced that myself. I've bowled on some dry, burn up house shots just in practice, just to play with it, and have had to deal with that particular issue. But none of the houses in this area, just are wanting to give bowlers no shot at all, because bowling on something you can't even get left with is no fun. It's not any fun. So I said there was a couple of things you can do. That is one option, is get way left, kind of float it across the head pin, kind of try to get the ball in front of the 3 and the 6 and let it at about 45, 46 feet and let it turn in. The other option, and I have seen this work, is go ahead and get your bigger ball, and do more of a hook set, where you take a big ball with maybe not a ton of surface on it, but with a little bit of surface on it. Stand, somewhere between 20 and 25, aiming at, maybe 7 or 8. Let it get to the gutter, hook, and then just completely be dead going into the pocket. And at least you might get some light mixers out of it. You might, if you get the right angle, you might reduce some of the deflection that you would get. I watched my daughter one time on a dry burn up sports shot that just, she couldn't do anything. She couldn't get left. It would stop hooking, and she just took a really big ball and threw it at the gutter, and it just kind of hooked and laid there and rolled out a little bit early. And she left a few 10 pins, but she ended up winning the tournament that way, because she was picking up her 10 pins. I mean, she was hitting the pocket every time. It just didn't hit very hard. And that is an option as well. That is probably the option that I would try, is bigger ball at the gutter, get it to hook, get it to set, get it to roll out early, and just deal with whatever comes after that. Make sure your 10 pin spares are really good. Livermore, California, laugh out loud. My local alley just closed. My average is 20 pins lower now. I haven't experienced California bowling, but I have heard that a lot of the centers are trying to save money by not giving you a whole lot of oil. I'm not if that's the case, they're not really interested in league bowlers anyway. They're looking just at your recreation bowlers. And I know a bunch of centers are doing that. I can name one brand off the top of my head that's doing that, which they're not the Evil Empire, but close. Okay, Livermore, California. Whatever center you're in there, please give them some oil. Just a little bit of oil. Even if you puddle it in the middle just a little bit and let them at least be able to do something would be nice. Because it's hard to bowl on a lane without any oil. It's hard to bowl on a lane with a lot of oil too, but, so there's an option. Try to get a hook set, try to get yourself some 10 pins, pick up your 10 pins, and just be happy and excited about being on the lanes. I hope that helped. Coach Berger. This always drives me nuts. I see the PBA bowlers shoot left side spares from the left on the approach, like Francois Lavoie. Yep, Frankie does that. Hard to argue. I would think he's kind of in the minority. Now, I don't think he does not do that with his 7 pins. 4 pins and 2 pins, he kind of goes straight at them. And I think he does that. I don't know for a fact. I'd love to talk to Frankie about this and why he does that. I think he does it because it gives him a little bit better chance when he ends up getting some washouts. Because in the PBA, you're going to have washouts. You're going to throw one to the right sometime and you're going to go right through the 3 pin or right through the middle there, and you're going to leave some ugly stuff. And, it is a little easier, in my opinion, to shoot at washouts from the left side, but I don't do it because I don't practice it. Where Frankie shooting at 2 pins and 4 pins does move left. He doesn't do that with 7 pins. He throws cross lane at 7 pins. So I understand why it drives you nuts. I've always questioned it too. My thought process is because he does it for 4 pins and 2 pins. It helps him with his spare shooting if he leaves a washout or if he leaves some kind of 210 combination. He's used to standing on the left and being able to throw at that spare. Hard to argue with Frankie, because he's a great spare shooter. Just an unbelievable spare shooter. Now, I throw pretty straight in the middle of the lane for my 2 pins, just to make sure when I do get washouts that I actually have a chance to pick up the washout, and I'm maybe 20-25% for a washout pickup, and a lot less than that lately. Okay, so kind of got through the chat. Keep them coming. If you have any more questions, please fire away. So we get into last night bowling for me, and the pattern was 40 feet, 3.5 to 1, not a whole lot of volume, and I know immediately, even though it started with a 4, because of the ratio, I knew I was going to be throwing urethane. So I took a Crown 78U to the lane. I took, in this particular tournament, they allowed me to throw the purple hammer. So I took the purple and a Crown 78U. The Crown 78U is much different than a purple or a black pearl from hammer. The Crown flares. So you find a new piece of cover every time it goes down the lane. You would think it would hook more, but because it's a 78 durometer, it hooks less than the purple, but more than the black. And what I'm looking for there when I'm throwing it is which ball recovers better. So my black pearl and my purple don't have much flare at all. They're kind of, when I pull the ball off the rack, you're going to see basically one line that's, maybe an inch and a half wide of where the ball is tracking. Where the 78U is got normal flare lines like what you would have on any reactive ball you have. So I threw both of those, and what I am looking for is which ball gives me the most miss room. If I throw the ball to the right to a little closer to the gutter, is it going to come off of it? And the ball that came off the gutter where I had some miss room to the right was the purple hammer, which at that point I knew it was going to be a good night. And I'm going to give you my philosophy on bowling with urethane at my age with my rev rate and my ball speed. And here's my philosophy. And I talked about this all night last night because nobody else could seem to be able to throw urethane last night except for me. And here's my philosophy is if I have to throw the ball to the right away from my target at the arrows, meaning I'm bellying the ball, whether it is 1 board or 2 boards or 3 boards or whatever, if I'm throwing to the right away from my target line, example, if I'm looking at 10 and I'm having to get the ball down to 8, that is a belly. That's a 2-board belly. If I have to do that, then urethane is not the play for me. The only time that is different is if the pattern is much shorter, like a cheetah, or even some of these 35-foot long patterns that are out there. Those I can sort of get away with a belly. But last night was 40 feet. So I knew that if I threw the ball any to the right from where I was looking, so if I was going, actually where I started was about 6, if I was trying to throw it to 4 down lane, that urethane wouldn't be the play for me, generally. So in warm-ups, I had a couple times where I threw it out there and the ball came back and actually caught a piece of head pin, and so I knew the purple hammer was the play. I started 6 to 6, 6 at the arrows, 6 down lane, and My philosophy is this: if I miss to the left, I am going to move right, and I move everything right. I don't just move my eyes. I don't just move my feet. I move both of them parallel. So I went from 6 to 6 to 5 to 5 to 4 to 4 to 3 to 3. And then, this particular tournament, we bowl 4 games, 4 different pairs of lanes. And then we have 1 bowls 4 and 2 bowls 3. So I finished in second, first in scratch, but second with handicap. And I was throwing the ball 3 to 3 and shot 218 in my semifinal match. In my final match, I was going 3 to 3, started with the front 4, then went 10 pin, which I did pick up, mind you. And at that point, I knew that I was going to have to move right again. So now I am 2 to 2. And 1 to 1, hey, you can't do that. It's way too scary. 2 to 2 was a little scary. I told the person I was bowling, I was like, I'm about to have to make another move. And now I'm going to be shooting at the 2 board. And, cause you can't go 1 to 1 anyway, because no lane machine oils the 1 board. There's not a oil machine out there that oils the 1 board. The 1 board always has no oil on it. So if you go 1 to 1, it's just going to jump left. There's no oil on the 1 board in any house. Lane machines cannot do it. They start oiling on the 2 board. So I was going 2 to 2. I went strike, 9 spare, and then I punched out for a 236. I think is the way that went. Again, I have a little app that'll tell me what I did. Let's look. Front 4, 10 pin strike. Oh, I did have an open in there. I had a 1, 2, 8, 10 washed out because I threw it a little too hard. Needed to keep it soft and my hand up the back with about 15 degrees of axis rotation. That goes back to a question that we had early in this video. So I went, I had a 1, 2, 8, 10, got 3, got the 1, 2, 8, did not get the 10 pin. Then I had the back 4 for a 236. Ended up winning the tournament significantly with an ex-PWBA bowler who was bowling, who gave me trouble. I'm sure she's not watching this, but she was not happy that I was throwing the purple. But I was having to be really accurate with it, because if I missed a little left, it was okay. It held. I had a few high strikes. If I got it on the 2 board, it looked really, really good. So, won that tournament. So, Saturday, PBA event, bowled absolutely crappy. Monday, didn't bowl spectacularly well, but nobody else did either. And so, was getting to throw urethane, so did really well. Placed 4th, won all my brackets, made a decent amount of money. And then last night, did really well, bowled really well, threw the ball extremely well, which actually created another video that will be coming out in the next couple of months, which would be when you're panicking, which I was, how your body reacts when you panic. For me, my body, my arm, I wasn't chicken winging it. I wasn't getting my elbow out, but I wasn't getting fully extended. So we're going to have a video about getting fully extended in a good follow through, and making sure that you follow through from your release all the way up to make sure that you are not bending that elbow and trying to control the ball with your arm, but allowing that ball to free swing at release and keeping that arm, getting that arm straight going towards your target. Because at some point in time on Saturday, I was scared. To be honest with you, I was scared. I was scared to throw the ball to the right because there was an OB, and that caused me to not release the ball completely, and I was trying to control it and making sure that I didn't throw it to the right, and the whole thing just ended up really, really poorly. But it did give me an idea for a video to help people that get a little nervous and short arm it, I think is what people call it. Never really had that problem before, but short arming and not a free open swing and making sure that arm is straight at the release is really important. And if you panic like I do and start to short arm it, then you're going to have the problems that I had, which is left, 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 left. All right, we had a couple of videos come out since the last live stream. Actually, I think we had 3 videos since our last. We had me bowling on a sport shot in one of these tournaments I've been talking about, where I bowled really, really well. Got first in scratch, but that didn't make me any money because it's a handicap tournament. It's just me trying to make myself feel better. And placing fourth, making a little bit of money. Bowled really fairly good. I was plus, which is always a good sign on some of these tournaments. And then, as I told you, this was the tournament where 1 bowls 4, 2 bowls 3. I came up in 4th place, so I had to bowl the 1st place, which just happened to be my daughter. And she went from 5th after game 3, shoots 236 game 4, and goes right around everybody and ends up in 1st place. We have to bowl each other. If you haven't seen the final match between me and her, it's not a good one. Spoiler alert, she whooped the pants off of her dad that day. So go back and check out those videos. The one of me in qualifying, pretty interesting to me. The final match, what came out a couple of days later, and go and watch that too. My daughter would appreciate it because she whooped my butt. So that's the first time she's beat me on the channel since we started this deal. So those videos came out last week, and I think on Saturday was the finals, and then we had a video come out Monday. Got another one coming out tomorrow, but the one tomorrow is, I've got to look and see what it's about. Oh, tomorrow's video is going to be fun. Stay tuned for that. It's about falling off your shot, the difference between stepping off and falling off. And I think I do a really good job of explaining the difference, where stepping off for us guys that are over 50 is not necessarily a bad thing, but falling off is, and I kind of show the difference and what you can do to fix that. But it did have a video come out Monday that has been really interesting. I made this video after bowling a Monday night tournament and bowling around a few people that just kind of aggravate me. No, not even that. It's just annoying. It's more annoying. So it's kind of me on a soapbox about the video starts with me saying some of the things that I've heard. The comments have been absolutely awesome. I've had more comments on this video than any other video that I've done. And it's people telling me how bad I am at complaining, which is true. I don't complain much, so I don't know how to do it. So I'm trying to mimic some of the things that I've heard and removing some of the expletives out of that because I don't cuss. My nickname around here is Iceberg because I'm a large human and I'm fairly cool. I don't get too mad. I don't get, League, I get a little happy because I get a little stupid. I like to have fun in League. And so, I think I had one League video out there where you can sign, and no, I wasn't goofy because my daughter shot 810 that night. So I was a little keyed up. But if you would normally watch me on League Night, I try to have a little bit of fun no matter how I'm bowling. But I don't cuss. I don't kick ball returns. I don't slam things. I don't throw things. That's just not me. So people were telling me the video was unrealistic because that is not how a lot of bowlers react to things. So I don't apologize for keeping the expletives out of it. It's just not me. But I have had a ton of great comments about, bowling against guys that are habitual complainers and how easy they are to beat and how easy it is to get in their head and how many people can't stand being around angry bowlers all the time. If you're not making a living bowling, aren't you out there to have fun? It's a question. Are you out there to have fun? And if complaining and being pissed off at the world is your idea of fun, it's not fun for the people around you. Most people bowl league for fun. They're not trying to make money, because you can't make money. You're losing money every time. You're never going to get it back in your prize fund, in theory. And so we're just out there to have a good time. Now, I realize that having fun, the better you bowl, the more fun you're having. And that's what this channel is about. It's about you practicing, me teaching you some things to become a better bowler so you have more fun. I get that. But you can have fun even if things are not going well, because stuff happens. I mean, you're throwing on a lane where you cannot see the obstacles in your way. They're clear. There's no way to view that, and stuff happens. I mean, how many times in my life, and I can tell you this, in the last 5 years, I've had 48 279s. Some of those are me throwing bad shots that I didn't get mad about. Some of them were a shot that I thought was great that didn't turn out great. Well, that stuff happens. It's bowling. Last night, bowling this tournament, I had a head pin knock the 7-pin over, and then another pin came the other direction and stood it up. How often does that happen? It's rare, but it happens. It's a little annoying, but it's not worth throwing a fit about, because it happens. It's bowling. I'm going to go out there and have fun. That's what I'm there for. If it's not fun, then why are you here? Here I get on my soapbox again. And my best friend is the owner of a center. And I just can't, it's the machines. Some of the machines are pre-World War II. Some of them are post-World War II. Barely. And he can't afford to replace these machines. They work, and even some newer machines, the mechanics of them are pretty similarly, unless he wants to go to string pins, which I don't want him to do. I like free fall. And so, yeah, he can buy some brand new servo-driven equipment, but he can't afford to fit a 32-lane house with servo-driven equipment. It's just impossible. So he's got to make the machines that he has work. Well, they're fairly simple in their design. And so you can get parts for them, and you can make parts for them, and they work. You can get them to work, and those things are going to work forever. But they're mechanical, so they're going to break down. Things are going to happen. The little pins that make sure where the pin, there's pins in there to keep all the pins to fall in the right direction and be on spot. Some of those get sheared off. They get old, and sometimes things get off spot. It happens. 180s, they happen. The mechanical end of a ball going down the lane and tripping the ball detector is mechanical. It's going to break. Stuff happens. They're older machines. And I have a hard time when people go, well, he just doesn't care about his bowlers. He doesn't care about his equipment. Yeah, he does. He does. A lot. He cares a lot more than you think he does. And he's trying the best he can. And machines do break down. That's just a fact. Got a couple more comments. I was surprised you didn't blame the ball in your complaints video. Definitely heard that one a bunch. Yeah. Complain about the ball not doing what it's supposed to do. I hear it too. You're right. I certainly could have added that one in there. I have two thoughts on that. One, a lot of league bowlers only have one ball. And so if you're complaining about the ball, if it's the only one you've got, there's not much you can do about it. So that would be kind of funny. If you're like me and have 50 bowling balls, then why am I throwing that one? I've got 49 other ones to choose from, and I'm throwing the one that doesn't work? Well, that makes no sense. So complaining about a ball, it just never dawned on me to actually add that to it. Because, it's just dumb. If you only have one ball, why complain? It's the only one you got. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with. At all. If you only have one ball, make it work. Or if you're like me and you have 50 bowling balls, why did you throw the one that doesn't work? That makes no sense. So, yeah, I do hear people complaining about their bowling ball. My bowling ball doesn't hook. Well, you got a couple options. One, take it to the pro shop and get them to rejuvenate the thing. Or two, get a different ball. Other than that, try to make it work. I bowl with a guy on Monday nights during the winter season who has three bowling balls. 4 bowling balls, really. 4. He's got a spare ball and 3 strike balls. He's been throwing these same 3 bowling balls for, well, I know one of the balls 20 years old and never rejuvenates them, never puts surface on them. All 3 of them are exactly the same. They hook the same amount. It's a same lollipop, just maybe a different flavor, different color anyway. Tastes the same. But he didn't complain about his bowling balls because he knows they're 20 years old. If one doesn't work, he goes and grabs another one. But it's funny because they all hook the same. He does complain a little bit, goes, well, that did the exact same thing the other ball did. Yeah. I'm not shocked. But he rarely complains about the bowling balls. He's got his primary, his tertiary, and his emergency. That's what he calls them. I think it's funny. When you bowl on a long pattern and the back ends get tight, do you cope if the ball had problems finishing? How do I cope if the ball has problems finishing? Slow it down. My first go-to always is make sure my access rotation is maybe at max, and I just slow the ball down. That's about the only thing I do. That video on slowing the ball down, comes out July 20th. So get ready, July 20th. In 5 days, a video is going to come out on how to slow the ball down or how to speed the ball up. Don't really talk about hand positions. I've had a video on hand positions earlier. So in that video, we're just talking about ball speed and how to slow it down or speed the ball up. Even for you guys over 50, you still need to do that, still need to learn that, because sometimes that's what's required. And I give a really good explanation, I think, on how to slow or speed the ball up and how to do that. Get ready for that video because the first thing you're going to want to say in the comments, I know I'm going to hear them, is that makes no sense. Because it's exactly the opposite of what you think you should be doing. And so I'm sitting in a coaching class, and to get, my certification, and the gold level coach shows me this technique. I'm not going to spoil it because it comes out in 5 days. I think it'd be Monday. And she shows me this technique, and I'm like, that doesn't work. That makes no sense. So we go out on the lanes, and her name was Susie Minshew. She's a gold level, USBC gold level coach, and we got into it about changing speeds. And dadgummit if she isn't right. Now that I have learned it and experienced it and been teaching it, it makes total sense now. And hopefully I do a really good job in that video of explaining that. But that's how I cope is, and then at that point, once I've slowed it down, increased my axis rotation, and that's kind of a general rule for me. The further left I go, the more axis rotation I'm putting on the ball. That's kind of a general rule. Then it becomes dealing with the ball itself and what I need that ball to do. A solid cover with some surface on it. If I'm slowing it down and getting it in the oil and getting it to finish, it may burn up and become flat, especially if I'm going left to right across the head pin. I start left of the head pin and I cross the head pin with the bowling ball. Sometimes it will hit the dry and I don't have enough revolutions on the ball because I'm a low rev guy to get the ball to actually finish. So then at that point, I do something that is scary for most bowlers over 50 or low rev rate bowlers. I will go to a pearl ball that is designed to go longer, and just slow the ball as slow as I can make it with a lot of axis rotation, and that usually solves the problem. What's up, Snow White? Hi. Where am I from? I am from Lubbock, Texas. So that's why I sound the way I do. I ride my horse to my work, which I'm in my office right now in my work, and I ride my horse back home. So yeah, I'm from Texas. Lived in Texas my whole life. My family's from Colorado, but I'm a Texas guy. If you watch my live from last week, you would kind of get a whole long list of what I did in Colorado a weekend or so ago. I am great. I'm fat and happy is what I say. More fat than happy, which I still need to lose some weight. Still working on that, sorta. I ended up doing some exercising and ended up hurting my shoulder, and so that kind of took me out, and I thought my bowling game was going to suffer because of that. I thought I was going to end up with rotator cuff surgery. Luckily, I do not. I am in some physical therapy, and my physical therapist is working on me to make sure that I can continue to bowl, and so that we're approaching it that way. I do have a procedure on the 21st of this month, and I'm hoping that procedure won't affect my bowling any, but so anyway, which is scary a little bit because I do need to shoot some more videos. So I think it is my normal video shooting time is after this procedure is after that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I need to look. Actually, no. That's when I am having a procedure, so that's not good. All right. I love my pearl ball, but couldn't get it to finish last night. Yeah. If you're having problems with your pearl, make sure you're just slowing it down. Get a lot of rotation and slow it way down, and you should be able to get that ball to finish. I'm not real sure what ball you're throwing. Yeah. Well, all right, Viking. I hope you enjoy it. Be prepared. Again, what I'm going to say is going to make no sense. It's not, but trust me. I didn't believe it either, and now I'm a believer and I teach it. So when you hear it, you're going to go, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong, but I'm not. So yeah, that video I think comes out on Monday. I've never really had a problem changing speeds, even when I was doing it wrong. But I really have pretty decent, well, speed control is probably not the right word. I don't have decent speed control. I have learned to decrease my speed. I have not really learned to increase my speed because I've never needed to. The only thing, matter of fact, if I need the ball to go faster, I just relax. The more relaxed I am, the harder I throw it. I actually have to physically do things to keep myself from throwing the ball too hard. Because my lack of rev rate, speed kills. And so I'm always trying to slowest. And last night when I was bowling, I was in a great spot where I could just relax and let the speed handle, the ball I was throwing. Again, I was throwing urethane last night. Been on here for about a little over an hour right now. We need to kind of wrap this up. I'll give you another minute or two to ask any more questions you want. And if not, we're going to be signing off. You throw it 15-8, slow it down for one frame and then go back up. Yep. That's, I don't know how old you are, but that's 15-8 on the screen. That's humming it. I mean, I'm going to guess at 15-8, you're somewhere off your hand at 18 or 19 miles an hour, maybe 19 and a half off your hand, maybe close to 20. So, that's faster than I throw it. Especially on a screen. My screen is going to range, if I'm throwing it well in a normal speed, 14.3 to 14.7. And I think off my hand, it's probably in the high 16s, low 17s. But I don't have a ton of rev rate, so that's plenty fast with my lack of rev rate. Anything faster than that, it's never going to see it. So yes, 68 years old and throwing at 15.8. You need a heavier ball. No, just kidding. That's impressive. Keep it up, but you're going to have to learn how to change speeds. Come see the video on the 20th. I think I got to everything I wanted to get to tonight. Talked about the Angry Bowler video. If you haven't seen that, I think it's funny. It's only about 8 minutes long. And then coming up next week, again, we have a video coming out about falling off versus stepping off. That comes out tomorrow. Changing speed comes out on July 20th. And then I'm going to do something I haven't done since I started the channel. I'm actually going to skip a Thursday video and go Monday to Monday. And we're going to have a increase your rev rate video. Another one on increasing your rev rate. So that video comes out on the 27th. So we're going to be skipping a Thursday next week, which I haven't ever done. We're just going to see how that pans out. And all right. Well, we're about an hour and 15 minutes in. We're going to kind of sign off. I have intentions of, keeping doing live videos on Wednesdays. So, be looking for the schedule. Usually pop the schedule up first thing in the morning on Wednesdays to let you know that I'm going to be doing a live. If you don't see me, posting that, then they're probably not going to happen. Again, I have businesses and I do some other things around the community. So sometimes I do get a little busy. I'm never at home. So just be looking for that, and hopefully I'll see you next week. I appreciate you guys that are watching. We have more people watching these videos after the fact. So if you're one of those people, thank you very much for watching. You guys that are watching my videos and trying to do the things that I'm teaching, you're the true ones. You're the ones that want to get better. You're the ones that want to fight through this game that we love so much. And I really do appreciate you watching my videos and commenting. So until next time, we'll see you out on the lanes. And guys, I want you guys to go out there and have fun and good bowling.